right, day 2 here at DevOps Days. I'm here with Alexis, and Alexis, say your last name so I don't mess it up.
My last name is pronounced Le-Quoc.
That's right. And so you're based out of New York,
Yep.
although originally from France.
Yep.
And you're one of the founders of DataDog's,
Yep.
sounds like a pretty cool product. Can you tell us a little bit about what is DataDog's?
Right, so in 15 seconds, I would say Datadog is Facebook for operations. Except that, where in Facebook you go and look at your friends' pictures and travel and parties, in Datadog you'll look at data from your infrastructure, and you have a social interface to your infrastructure data, and you can have a conversation about what's happening, graphs that exhibit spikes, for instance. You can share that with your teammates, and then have a conversation, explore correlation, causation between data coming from all over your infrastructure. So, for instance, take your Nagios alert, take your pingdom alerts, take your response time through web metrics, take your CPU usage across EC2, put all of that into one place, and then from there, and that place is Datadog, and from there you can slice and dice the data. You can look at particular data patterns, share that with your team, bring in developers or DevOps, depending on how your organization is set up. And then in the end, the goal is to understand what's happening, resolve incident faster, and then everybody is happier from there.
With access control, what level of access control do you have, and to what extent do you see this as something that maybe the entire engineering and ops people would have access to, and have maybe different layers of authorization, as opposed to just a tool that maybe a specific type of a person would have?
Right. So we designed Datadog with clearly in mind an emphasis on collaboration. And that's why we adopted some of the interfaces in the social media world. So we see Datadog as something used by the entire technical part of the organization, and that could extend beyond that, but definitely all software engineering, all of operation. Our authorization model and access control model is relatively thin right now, in the sense that it's part of an organization as a whole that can access the data, can comment, can share, can create new dashboards, create new graphs. So it's relatively open, and we will implement more granular, if you will, access control. But right now, really what our customers have asked for is something that lets more and more people jump inside the organization, jump in and look at the data and have conversations.
And so, where did the idea for it come from? Was this technology that you acquired? Was it somebody's PhD thesis? Was it you working in another company, you thought, this is a pain to have all these different things?
That's definitely the latter one. So my co-founder and I, I was heading operations for a company with about 500 people and a couple of thousand servers, and he was heading software development, and we saw that on the operations side, there's a ton of tools. They're very specific, very hard to understand for developers very hard for developers to use. And so we were in that situation where on the ops side, you have a complete view of the infrastructure, but you don't really understand what's happening, because a lot of the custom logic and a lot of the business value comes from the applications being developed by engineers. So we wanted a tool that be easy to use, that didn't require you to come with the context of an operation mind, but something that would still be useful for operations. So, and I think that's where DevOps is so important to us, because to us it is the perfect crowd, if you will, for our users. It's like somebody, you can be a developer, but you have, you want to see your code run somewhere, and you want to be able to look at performance of your code running in production. If you're in operations, you want to understand what's happening across the infrastructure. You want to know when something's getting pushed by, code is being pushed by a software engineer somewhere in the organization, because it's going to affect you. But you want to see it in context. You don't want to just be in some mailing list somewhere and then realize, oh yeah, somebody just pushed some code.
And then just to conclude with, what do you see in the next year? What are your goals, either for the product or for the company, in features or reach or however you're?
So our goals are from I would say mostly from a customer standpoint right now. So we're in private beta. We have about, I'd say 30 to 50 companies involved. And so we plan to open that up to basically a much larger audience. And that's going to be where most of our focus is. So in terms of communication, reaching out, also we have been mostly focused on web companies right now, and we have some contacts in the more traditional enterprise, if you will, market. And so that's a place where we're gonna move to as well. Of course, the product's going to evolve, but there's so much we can do, and there's so much we're going to do that I don't want to necessarily make a list.
All right, Alexi, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.